What's up, YouTube? Thank you for being here. Anybody that's new watching my channel, I talk about reality, awareness, expanding your consciousness, and spiritually evolving into your highest version, getting to know your true self, who you actually are beyond what you've thought, what you've learned throughout your entire life. So, today's video, I want to talk about LSD. I'm doing a mainstream drug. I'm serious, where I talk about different types of drugs and how they affect your consciousness, how they affect your well-being, and how you can use them responsibly to evolve into your highest version, if you choose to, because there's many paths. This is only one path that I use to my advantage, not recreationally, but for my growth. So, if you're watching this, I'm not advising and I'm not condoning the use of drugs in any way, shape, or form. I'm just sharing my experience and through my eyes, through my perspective, what I've been through and how it feels to be on acid. So this video is going to be about explaining to you my experiences on acid, how it feels like to be on acid, and it's going to lead into the next video where I actually talk neurologically and psychologically how it affected me on my evolution and my expansion of consciousness within myself. So let's get to it. So I want to start off by telling you that, LSD is derived from lysergic acid, and it's basically just a fungus, and that's how they create it. It's a chemical that you are taking that affects your brain and alters your state of consciousness. Therefore, your perception of the world will be completely different. Now, I don't want to go too scientific and talk about the neurological effects, because that's going to be for the next video, for the people that watch this video and are curious on what happens and how it can affect your whole entire being, your entire path, your entire journey when it comes to your own evolution as a person, because this channel is about evolving. So, what it feels like to be on acid. Well, every single time that I've taken acid, I've noticed that it alters what's actually going on within myself internally. My internal world kind of gets re-examined and gets, emphasized. Meaning whatever it is that I'm going through at that time, whatever my emotional state, psychological state, it gets enhanced. So it comes out into the open, and you got to be ready for it. Because when I've taken it, I usually, most of the time, if not all the times that I've taken, by the way, I've only taken LSD about, I would say, 4 to 5 times. And some of the times have been, might have seemed a little recreational, right? Because I was with people, friends, acquaintances. But whether the people that I was around knew it or not, I wasn't taking just to mess around and just to, have fun. Every time that I've taken LSD, inside, I've been thinking to myself, I want to know the truth of this world. And if you know me and you've watched me along my path and through my spiritual awakenings, this has been my main curiosity my entire life, and it's just been building up more and more. So I took LSD because I was curious about the world. I wanted to know myself. I wanted to examine parts of myself, and I wanted to evolve. I wanted to become my best version. So I took the avenue of drugs, hallucinogenics, because I researched and I read that it would increase my awareness, my self-awareness, meaning your awareness of yourself, who you really are. You start to get to know parts of yourself that you wouldn't really, focus on or concentrate on when you were sober. So this allows you that different angle on yourself, on life, on the world. So, with friends, I've taken it, and, I tripped out. I had a good trip, and I just started to expand my mind. I became more open-minded than I was before because of the way I was interpreting things on LSD. I basically interpreted every single circumstance 100 different ways. When maybe I was sober, I only interpreted it a handful of ways, and I stopped there. But in LSD, it's like the interpretation, the perception on life was increased tenfold. Every single thing that I looked at, every single thing that I, thought about was explored, was examined within my being, internally. So if I was looking at a wall, I would think about how that wall was made. Wow, look at that wall. I would put more concentration on the fact that I'm looking at a wall. When normally you would just look at a wall and then look at the next thing and look at the next thing. But no, for some reason, every single thing looks so spectacular. It made me and it propelled me to wonder even more about the complexity of life, about the life that I was living. Is that really all that life entails? Or is there more about life that I'm not even aware of? So, the first couple of trips that I had with my friends was just, in a way, it was getting to know myself. And that led me to so many other awakenings within my life, within my reality. My reality completely changed every single time that I took LSD. Sometimes, the first couple times, it affected me small, but the last couple times that I took LSD, it really just kind of put the foot in my face. You know, it's like someone was really something, a presence. You know, I was feeling very inclined to do personal development. When my entire life I was just open-minded person going with the flow. When I took LSD, since I witnessed those states of awareness, I really re-examined myself and who I was. So everything that I wanted out of life changed. I threw out the desires that I knew that weren't for me, and I started to realize another truer path, a path of myself that was more in alignment with who I wanted to be inside. So just to give you a little story about how the trip was and how I felt when you take LSD a little bit or a lot. Well, when you take a little bit of LSD, in my opinion, from when I've taken it, if you take small amounts, because remember there's, um, I believe it's UGs or MGs, it all comes in dosages. So let's say 100 UGs is like a normal amount that could trip you out, that you could have a pretty, life-changing experience for the normal person if it's your first time. And if you take 50 or 30, that's considered microdosing, meaning you're taking a small amount to inspire some sort of creativity within you, to kind of see a different angle, a small different angle in life that helps you, with whatever you're doing in life, to get that extra creativity for school, for a project. Scientists even put it on Snapchat one time to recommend it to microdose, that it helps your cognitive, creativity. But remember, I said I don't want to go into that because that's going to be more in the next video. I'm going to go in depth about that. But for me, how I experienced life on small doses was just an extra set of thoughts, you could call that. Meaning that literally I had an extra set of thoughts, right? Instead of having 5 thoughts, right, about a certain subject on life, I would now have 15 new thoughts on how I could go about a certain situation. So that was microdosing. Just a different set of ideas and thoughts about certain things about life that I would never have thought about before if I was sober. Things were being brought to my attention that I wouldn't really focus on, leading to more accelerated growth within myself, right? Evolving into my best version. Because I started to see all those things that I was being blind to when I was, not taking anything, and I was just living my life, less aware than I was on LSD. So now I want to give you my last LSD experience that I had, and it was my biggest LSD experience. I told you that 100 could be a pretty life-changing experience for somebody. Well, I took about 450 UGs, which, in my opinion, for someone that has been taking small doses previously, would be a heroic dose. So my LSD experience, when I took that much, I went into that LSD experience because I wanted to impulsively shatter my reality. This is when I had my first, spiritual awakenings with those smaller doses throughout my life. And now I felt like, I was ready to just go all in. I really wanted to transform my life, and I wanted to get the truth out of the drug. So the way this works when you take LSD, in my opinion, from what I've experienced, is that whatever it is you're thinking, whatever it is you want, whatever it is you're looking for, the intention you set before you take the drug is what you will receive out of it. It's like you're setting the blueprint, you're setting the ambiance for the trip, for the experience when you take it. And remember, when you take LSD, it lasts about 6 to 8 hours, sometimes even 12. So I took LSD, and knowing that it took 12 hours to get out of my system, I took the LSD still, knowing that it would be something that I had never experienced before. I still took the LSD. And, I thought that I could handle it. I thought that I could really, really, you know, do normal things that night when I was taking LSD. This was about a couple months ago. And what happened was that I just literally shattered my reality. I didn't know what was coming. So I went to Barnes and Nobles, to go on the computer to study, and I thought I could really just dive into studying, dive into learning about whatever I was doing, investments and all that stuff. But little did I know that much, you know, LSD in my system, in my brain. Remember, this is affecting you on a chemical level. Your serotonin, your mood, everything is getting affected when you take this drug. Your entire cognitive function, meaning the entire way that I saw the world was getting affected. Yet I still thought I could take it. So when I took this drug, it builds like a ladder. That's the way LSD works. When I took it, it's like a ladder. So little by little, you get more like pulses of experience. So you start off first seeing the world differently. You get new thoughts that you would have never gotten before, and then little by little, you start getting these climax experiences. It's like it just hits you like a rock. Like if you were to get like punched in the face out of nowhere, boom, it hits you, and you're in a completely different um, area of perception. You are no longer the person you were before. Now you're in this complete different state, like mental state. Like if you talk to me now and you talk to me when I had that climax experience, I was two different people because it rewires everything that's going on in your brain. So everything blew up in front of me. The computer was swirling around. Everything was going crazy, and so I thought I could drive home. Yeah, seems like a stupid idea, but you're not really, functioning in a sober way. So that's why it could potentially get dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So I went to attempt to drive home, and when I was driving home, again, I got hit with another jab. My reality, got destroyed even more. Now, I was no longer seeing the cars at the normal distance that I would normally see it through my eyes. Now things were completely zoomed in. Everything that I looked at was zoomed in. The cars that would normally be 10 feet away from me, even if they looked like they were right next to me, driving parallel to, where I was heading. And in front of me, behind me, everywhere. Like if a car was across the road, it would look like it was right in front of my car. So thinking that, how would I drive through the car without hitting it? So I took my chances. I drove to the nearest neighborhood. And finally, it got to the point where my entire visual, perception was shattered. I was disoriented, meaning I could not see where I was going, where I was. And to a certain extent, I was losing touch with who I actually was in that moment. But again, I took this impulsively, but I was already spiritually aware, spiritually awake of certain things at that time. I was already questioning reality. That was already my deepest desire in that moment. Remember, I told you, it takes out what it is you're thinking, what it is you want out of that experience, out of taking LSD in the first place. So I parked my car literally in front of a stop sign in a neighborhood in a roundabout, and I attempted to call my parents. I attempted to call my parents to rescue me from my, complete delusion of what I was going through because I did not know what I was expecting. So it literally, beat my ass. So as I was grabbing my phone, I hear voices, of myself, different voices, different thoughts of myself, trying to tell me what to do from different angles in my head. So imagine this, I'm feeling different Oscars in my head telling me to do different things. Don't call the person, call this person. No, call your parents. No, call the cops. Do this, do that. So who do I believe? So what I did was I followed my integrity. What is the right thing to do? And I followed that thought. So I called my parents and I was completely embarrassed. This had never happened before. Only previously when I might have been drunk maybe, but this had never happened on drugs. Because that was something that I did privately to investigate and to know what it feels like to be under this altered state of consciousness, seeing the world from a different angle, getting to know myself, getting to know the drug, how it can help me evolve. So my parents rushed over, but I didn't tell them that I had taken that much. They thought that I just took a normal dose, right? So as they were talking to me, the same thing that happened in my head, a bunch of different thoughts of myself, happened to the person that I was talking to. So as I was talking to my parents, I didn't have control of what I was saying or what I would say. I was out of control of my body. I did not have full control of myself. So if you're one of those people that, can surrender to life and go with the flow, then you would be in hell because, you have to surrender because or else things will go haywire and you don't know what's going on. So in this experience, I got hit with another climax moment. And when I went to my house and I finally arrived home, my parents went to sleep. Remember, it stays in your system for about 6 to 12 hours. So I had just taken it about 2 hours ago. So I was just in the beginning. So since being spiritually aware of energies and how things function within my body, I was feeling the energies of the LSD pulsating through my heart, through my brain, everything. And I was seeing fractal imagery. And if you don't know what that is, just search it up, okay? Because the pictures will show you better than ever. And I was seeing everything fractal. Everything was exploding within me. And about 4 hours in, I finally felt the last climax that I had. And it was when everything that I could ever see in the world merged with me. Everything I touched became one with me. The show that I was watching, I witnessed the movie, and all the events that had happened in my life leading me to this moment from my own perspective. I didn't know the producer of the movie. I didn't know the show I was watching. It was just a random show on television. But for some reason, whatever I was watching, whatever I was touching was speaking to me, was giving me a message. And in my brain, the way I was interpreting things was that everything is in favor of my reality, my evolution. Everything that happens in my life is for me. And it is placed by this higher intelligence, this higher portion of myself. These are already things that I was starting to experience before, but now that I was taking LSD, it's like they were enhanced. And when I go back and I think about it, I think that if I were to have perceived the world every day like that, without being on LSD, that would be amazing. And guess what? To an extent, that is how I see the world now, after evolving more soberly after that an LSD trip. So that LSD changed a lot of elements within myself, within my personality, and helped me to see the bigger picture of all things. So like every experience that's very intense and life-changing, it takes some time to integrate the experience, meaning that you won't completely understand everything that's going on because you haven't reached that level of consciousness to interpret what was actually happening within you. So before you take LSD and after you take LSD, that's two different people, two different realities of yourself. So after I took LSD, I was completely just mind blown. The way I felt about life was completely disoriented. I didn't completely understand everything that was going on within me, who I was, what I wanted, how I was to go about things, and the fact that I need to share what I know, what I've experienced with the world. Now, after the LSD experience, a couple of weeks after, finally, after I came back to my normal state, after the quote unquote traumatizing experience was over, after a while, and I recovered, everything came together. In a way, in my opinion, through my life, through my reality, I felt upgraded. That those levels of perception that I had on LSD somehow became a part of me. Sober. Yes, sober. So it's like I took those elements, right, of seeing the world that way. Not right away, but a couple of weeks after of, refreshing and re-energizing and eating healthy and cleansing out, myself, becoming strong again, getting back into life, without that huge life-changing, mind-altering experience. I came back to life and I was literally a different person. It's like tweaking. It's like I took myself to the mechanic shop, like if I was a car, and I literally changed the oil, changed the brakes, washed the car. That is how I felt after that LSD experience. And many people can, in a way, testify on YouTube or other people that you may have met that have taken LSD. They will tell you the same thing, that it changes their levels of perception, and after the LSD experience, they still remain with those level of perception changed, meaning they are in a different reality of themselves that they were not previously. Before they took the LSD, they were not that person. They couldn't see the world in that way. So you see, in a sense, that you're upgrading yourself, you're evolving, you're reaching a truer state in alignment with who you really are. Because if before LSD you were lacking awareness, you were lacking these higher perspectives, and you were very narrow-minded, but then when you took LSD, you became open-minded. And then after the LSD effects wore off, you were able to keep the element of becoming open-minded in yourself. So now you're no longer a narrow-minded person when before you were, and now you're not. Therefore, evolving to a higher state, expanding your consciousness. Remember, I don't want to get too into that because I will talk more about that in the next video. But this is just an example of what I went through and how it changed for me. But remember, inside, I always wanted to know the truth. I always wanted to share with others how I see the world, how I perceive the world, the way I've put things together, the way I've put the puzzle pieces. And I finally see everything finished. And of course, I'm still learning every single day about reality, about life, and how things are working. And I'll keep you guys updated with that. But since my desire to know the truth and to be curious about these things was so great, things formulated and I saw great change. I reaped the rewards of my efforts. So just know that if you can take anything from this video, I'm sorry it was so long. It's probably just a bunch of blabbing about, you know, LSD. But It is my experience, and it's a different angle on things. And know that when you are taking these kind of drugs, whatever path you take, meditation, all these things, what your goal is to increase your self-awareness, increase your awareness in general. What are you aware of? What's your stigma? What's your bias? What's the egoic tendencies you contain within your personality that are hindering you from seeing the world truthfully, seeing the world as whole, seeing the world for what it is? What's inside you? What is a part of you that is not allowing you to see that? Because the majority of people have yet to reach, a state of complete unity and a state that's close to perfection. A lot of people have work to do with themselves. I'm definitely one of them. So if you can acknowledge that you are not your best version yet, then acknowledge that and see, the fact that there are routes to take that can help you seeing these portions of yourself that you cannot see in your normal state of a lack-minded awareness, of bias, of ego. There's many factors that are taking place that you're not even aware of. But by taking this conscious action, you are opening yourself up to the infinite possibilities available to you, leading to your evolution, leading to your greater version of who you really are. But that's your choice. You choose what path you take. I'm just sharing with you the path that I've taken, and hopefully that helps you. So thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned. The next video will be more in depth, more interesting, a little more complex, you could say, and advanced when it comes to consciousness and talking about reality. But I think you'll love it. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I hope to see you in the next video. I send you all love and light.